Hello, everybody, and welcome to our review of the Pacific Theater of World War II. A very warm welcome to Miss Walsh's section of AP World. I hope you are nicer than the one that I have. So, this is, I think, my fourth shot at recording this. 2 times were bad, and then I thought I recorded a good one a third time, but the recording itself did not fully save, which is incredibly frustrating. So this one will probably be characterized by some pauses. Um, I will try to stitch all the videos together afterwards. If not, I will upload them as a bunch of, or like as a playlist of several videos. So that is my plan, and I'm sticking to it. So the Pacific Theater of World War II. Um, Largely defined by the territories of the Empire of Japan. At its peak, the empire stretched throughout eastern China, Southeast Asia, the islands of Oceania, and even the Aleutian Islands in North America. At the end of this particular conflict, we will have massive changes for the militaristic society of Japan, and of course, the emergence of the world into the nuclear age. So, even though Nazi Germany, rightfully so, well, maybe not rightfully so, but even though we associate aggression and invasion with Nazi Germany for one of the major consequences of World War II, the start of World War II, a good almost decade before 1939, the Japanese had been increasing its imperial holdings in Asia. So from September 19th through 1931, or starting September 19th, 1931, Japan occupies Manchuria, renaming it Manchukuo, a province of Japan in China. And it is from here that throughout the 1930s, Japan will launch an invasion into mainland China itself. Now, the Japanese forces are initially very successful in their invasion of China, but as the 1930s goes on, the Japanese military becomes more and more frustrated by Chinese military resistance and the resistance of the Chinese population. This type of frustration results in lots of cruelty throughout China, as inflicted by the Japanese. One noteworthy one, well, they're all noteworthy, but one of the most brutal and famous is in December 1937, Nanking. You get the massacre of Nanking, with estimates up to 300,000 innocent civilians killed by the invading Japanese forces. And then throughout the 1930s and the mid 1940s, there will be lots of atrocities committed by the Japanese against the Chinese. One kind of noteworthy one that the people have become more and more aware of is just like there was human experimentation by the Nazis in the concentration camps of Europe. There was something called Unit 731, where you saw a similar unethical and cruel experimentation on Chinese civilians by the Japanese. November 25th, 1936, Japan enters the anti-Comintern Pact with both Germany and Italy. The rivalry between Russia and Japan goes on for several decades here, with the Russian Empire extending all the way to the Pacific, and then of course the Russo-Japanese War in the early 1900s. And then an extension of that rivalry between these two powers is the idea that the totalitarian state of Japan, both fearful and resistant to the ideas of communism, highlighting the battle of these two philosophies in this time period, where totalitarianism, you want to centralize power to the state, where the ultimate goal of communism is to completely decentralize power with the elimination of government itself. Throughout the 1930s, there is a civil war in China between Mao Zedong and the communists, and General Chiang Kai-shek, the nationalist. That civil war between these two factions is put on pause because of the growing threat of the Japanese against the Chinese leading up to World War II. September 22nd, 1940, Japan continues to conquer more of mainland Asia by taking and occupying the French colony of Indochina, which we know more today as like the area in and around Vietnam. So with the growing power of Japan, and by January 1941, with World War II in full motion, in a similar vein to World War I, the question is, by the powers that are fighting in World War II, when will the United States join the conflict? Just like the United States joined the conflict in World War I to swing that to the favor of Britain and France. The question again remains, when will the United States join the conflict against the Axis powers? And so, even though Pearl Harbor will not happen until December 7th, 1941, planning for that goes back up to a year, with the assumption that the United States would join eventually against the Japanese. And so, to prevent a drawn out war between the United States and Japan, Japan makes those plans to cripple the United States naval fleet before they can join the war.